Two border congressmen from Texas are among 14 Democrats who supported a House resolution this week denouncing what they call President Biden's lax border security. U.S. Representatives Vicente Gonzalez of McConnell and Henry Cuellar of Laredo on Wednesday voted in favor of the resolution, which says there is a public safety crisis. It urges President Biden to end his administration's open borders policies. The measure passed the GOP-led House by 225 to 187 votes. All Republicans voted for it. Cuellar tells BorderReport.com that he is frustrated with lenient parole criteria for asylum seekers.
I don't like exactly the language that's there, but I think the Biden administration can certainly do a lot more at securing the border. It's very simple. It's what I've been saying for many years. Detain and deport the people that don't qualify.
All right, the border battle down in Texas intensifies with Democrats now calling on the president, Joe Biden, to federalize the state National Guard.
But Governor Greg Abbott is not backing down, saying Texas has the right to defend itself against the migrant invasion.
And they're using the Constitution as a weapon. Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with the details. All right, Lucas, unwind this.
All right. Well, good morning, my friends. The Texas border standoff continues. Both Governor Greg Abbott and the White House are refusing to back down. Now GOP reinforcements are pouring in. Abbott receiving the support of many of his fellow Republican governors, such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, also the governors from Oklahoma, Montana, Georgia, and Utah. Now, some on the left want President Biden to do more. Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro says Biden needs to take control of the Texas National Guard right now. Other Democrats rushing his defense are Congressman Greg Casar and former Congressman and former gubernatorial candidate in Texas, Beto O'Rourke.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the border because there's a whole lot of things that we got to discuss in regards to what is happening with the invasion at the border that has gotten so bad that Texas Governor Greg Abbott has decided to use the full power of the state of Texas and the National Guard to try to secure the border, including putting razor wire fencing at the border, which has triggered Democrats in the Biden administration because, hey, they apparently don't want any disincentives for illegals to come into the country, right? Actually trying to secure the border apparently is a bad thing according to Democrats in 2024, except back in the day, Democrats, believe it or not, actually used to believe in this type of stuff to deter people from crossing the border illegally.
The fence is now basically complete. Maybe they'll need a moat. Maybe they want alligators in the moat.
Secure our borders with technology, personnel, physical barriers if necessary in some places.
I voted for a fence. I voted unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it. I voted for 700-mile fence. And let me tell you something, folks. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
Yeah, so you're seeing that, you hear that, okay? Democrats used to believe in common sense until they went off the deep end, okay? You had President Barack Obama, who they called the deporter-in-chief, right? Because of all the illegals that he deported during his presidency, he suggested putting alligators in moats, right, to secure the border, okay? I mean, that to me seems to be a lot more inhumane than wire fencing. But apparently, Democrats in 2024, they're triggered by razor wire fencing, okay, to keep illegals out. So triggered that they challenged Texas doing this in the Supreme Court because Texas wasn't allowing Biden's Border Patrol agents to cut the razor wire fencing in order to take it down. Now, the Supreme Court sided with the Biden administration, and Texas Governor Greg Abbott said, you know what, screw the Supreme Court, screw the Biden administration. We're going to continue to build new fencing because the Biden administration refuses to enforce the laws on the books. Take a look.
The state of Texas continued adding razor wire along the southern border despite a U.S. Supreme Court order earlier this week.
And on Monday, the high court threw out a lower court decision. It means federal agents can resume cutting razor wire, but Governor Abbott says the state will keep adding more wire, saying the state's constitutional right to defend itself outweighs federal law. Fox 4's Blake Hansen joins us now with the very latest in the dispute between Texas and the federal government. Blake.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, razor wire is just one of multiple issues where the federal government and the state are at odds and in the courts over border security. New video Wednesday shows the Texas Military Department beefing up razor wire installations in Eagle Pass along the border southwest of San Antonio. The security efforts continuing despite a setback at the U.S. Supreme Court Monday. The court, in a 5-4 ruling, vacated a lower court decision that blocked federal agents from cutting razor wire. The feds argued its agents need access to patrol the border and help migrants in need. But the state says it's essential to security and will discourage risky crossings away from legal entry points.
Texas is doing putting every measure in place to prevent that, to try to discourage that. But yet at the federal level, the federal government has not done anything as far as trying to discourage illegal immigration, especially those that want to cross a dangerous river.
Although the Supreme Court order allows for federal agents to cut the wire, there's still no ruling on the larger lawsuit over the matter. And so Texas is adding more.
Texas is doing what they should do. The people of Texas are going to respond favorably to anything Texas can do to try to stem the tide.
In a lengthy statement Wednesday, Governor Abbott cited constitutional law he says allows for Texas to defend itself, writing that authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. But it is still unclear if the federal government will try to clear out the razor wire. The White House was asked about it Tuesday.
How quickly does the administration intend to remove all the razor wire that has been set up?
So I don't have the specifics on what the border security is going to do and how they're going to do it. Look, we are certainly glad that the Supreme Court made the decision to vacate the injunction that prevented border security to actually do their jobs, to do laws, and it got in the way.
The lower court in this matter, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans, is set to hear arguments in the case on February 7th.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Okay, so what we have here is Texas Governor Greg Abbott saying, okay, well, if the Border Patrol is going to be allowed to cut down this barbed wire fencing, then we're just going to keep building more, right? Because apparently they haven't really ruled on whether or not Texas is allowed to continue to add more fencing. They've just said, well, the federal government is allowed to cut it down because they need to cut it down to do their jobs. Now, again, I'm not sure exactly what they define as their jobs, right? I mean, the Border Patrol agents, I think their jobs are supposed to be to keep illegals out of the country. But apparently, the Biden administration is weaponizing the Border Patrol to actually help illegals come into the country, right? Saving them from the consequences of trying to get into a country illegally, right? Which, you know, we should have consequences for trying to get into a country illegally because if you don't, then that's going to encourage everybody to try to come into the country. Seems to me that's what the Biden administration wants, okay? And again, Democrats are upset about this. They're furious. They're having an absolute meltdown, so much so that they're essentially calling for the Biden administration to federalize the National Guard, to essentially take away control of the National Guard from the Texas governor. And when asked about this, the Affirmative Action Press Secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, of course, did not have a real answer in regards to what the Biden administration is going to do.
Homeland Security Department has asked for access to this park that is now currently in dispute. It doesn't seem like they've gotten it. They now are allowed to cut down razor wire. Yeah. Some Democrats are saying the president needs to federalize the Texas National Guard.
So look,
is that something that could happen?
I mean, look, I'll say this. You know, the Border Patrol agents are now, as you said, allowed to cut through the wire because of what the Supreme Court has laid out. It's unfortunate that we had to go there. It's unfortunate that there is a governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, who has politicized this issue of what's happening on the border. And it's not making people's lives safer. It's actually making it harder for law enforcement at the border to do their job. And so we have been very clear. We want to make sure we get something done at the border. That's why we've been having these conversations with Senate Republicans and Democrats for the past several weeks to come up with a bipartisan agreement to deal with the border. And look, if the governor is not interested in that, Governor Abbott is not interested in that. He wants to politicize an issue, and he's not helping communities. He actually isn't. And he's actually putting Border Patrol agents in harm's way by doing what he's doing. I'm not going to speak to any actions that the president might take, may not take, but we have been very clear on this.
Yeah, so of course, no answer from the Affirmative Action Press Secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, in regards to whether or not Biden's going to federalize the National guard. But what she did talk about is the so-called bipartisan border deal that is supposed to be working its way through the Senate and Congress. Now, this has been getting a lot of attention lately because there is a sense of urgency in regards to this border deal, because Republicans have essentially demanded that, hey, we're not going to send any money to Israel or Ukraine unless we spend money to secure the border. Now, again, this is a part of a $100 billion package. Okay, we're talking about over $100 billion that the Biden administration wants to spend in order to send money overseas and to secure the border. Except securing the border, right, is apparently not in the bill, okay, because the bill would still allow 5,000 migrants a day before a Title 42 type limit starts to kick in which they basically just start, turning people away and say, nah, bro, you can't come in. But we're going to allow about 5,000 people to come in first, right, per day. So over a 30-day period, you're talking about, 150,000 illegals? Okay, and over a year, you're talking about over 1 million illegals. Okay, so you have some people in the GOP saying, nah, this is not good, right? Like, we're not going to go for this. Now, there are some people in the GOP that are supporting it. They're essentially trying to blame Trump and say, well, Trump is trying to sabotage the deal because he doesn't want to secure the border to give Biden credit going into the election, when that's not the case. Trump doesn't like the deal because the deal, as you guys can see, and I've read a lot of this stuff about what's allegedly in the deal. Nobody really knows what's actually really in it because these bills are so big. But regardless, he doesn't like the deal because it's not the Secure the Border Act, which is the Republican legislation that actually would help fix the problem and secure the border. It doesn't go far enough, which is something that I've argued that Republicans should not accept any type of compromise on the border because, quite honestly, they don't need to.
Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, that's Donald Trump, who just days ago had been pushing hard for a deal, saying it was Republicans' best chance for tougher immigration laws and that it was crucial to secure aid for Ukraine, now is suggesting it will likely not happen. And the reason is because of that guy, Donald Trump. CNN's Manu Raju is on Capitol Hill this morning with this big statement by Mitch McConnell on it.
Yeah, no question about it. And Republicans are still trying to figure out what that means in the months ahead. McConnell's been pushing hard to get this deal done because Republicans have insisted there must be a deal on immigration and the border first before they agree to more funding for Ukraine at a critical time in the war against Russia. But because Trump has come out publicly and privately lobbying against any sort of immigration deal that is not, quote, exactly what Republicans have demanded, there are fears on Capitol Hill that essentially could scuttle the process entirely, derail this national security package. And that is the message that Republicans are grappling with this morning, including one Senator, Mitt Romney, who made very clear that he believes that Donald Trump is simply urging members to kill this because he wants to campaign on the issue of immigration. Do you think this is what he wants, the issue, Donald Trump? This is what he's doing?
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump. And the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border. And someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, hey, save that problem. Don't solve it. Let me take credit for solving it later.
Yeah, so the gaslighting here is incredible. Okay, they're saying, well, it's Trump's fault, right? It's Trump's fault that the border's not being secure because he doesn't want the Republicans to cave and to compromise with Democrats to do a bill that, one, doesn't really secure the border as much as it should be secured, right? As much as we need. Okay, we need a pause. We shouldn't be allowing anybody into the country illegally. We need to get it to 0, right? Now, again, realistically, will that happen? No, but we can't just be allowing people into the country up until a certain point, and then we say, oh, well, we'll start, just turning people away, on a discretionary basis. No. We should be turning people away immediately at the border. No, you're out, right? We're not open anymore, okay? You can't come here claiming asylum. We've taken in too many people claiming asylum. It is what it is.
The Biden border crisis is an absolute humanitarian disaster, and Democrats don't care. Last year, 853 migrants died crossing illegally into this country. Alejandro Mayorkas didn't even know how many had died because he didn't care. When I brought 19 senators down to the border, we saw a man who had drowned floating in the Rio Grande. Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands upon thousands of children were brutalized and sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands of women were sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats do not give a damn. Last year, more than 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses from Chinese fentanyl flooding across the southern border, and Democrats do not give a damn. Now, you may say, oh, come on, that's harsh. They care. They care. Somewhere in their hearts, they care about all the people suffering and dying. Baloney. Because if they cared, they would stop it. If you cared about the children being raped at the border, you would say no more. When Joe Biden came in, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. He inherited success, and he deliberately broke it. Democrats want these open borders. And this bill, this mysterious bill, that is buried down in the basement of Chuck Schumer's office. All of you have a living as reporters. Ask yourself, why have you not read the text of the bill? There's a reason. As bad as we think the bill is, I promise you it's worse. The people pushing this deal knew, no, if the American people knew what was in it, they would be against it. This supplemental bill is a kamikaze plane in a box canyon with no exit, headed for a train wreck. If you look at this bill, the bill is not designed to fix this problem. By the way, the single greatest national security threat to America, this right here. I think the odds of a major terrorist attack in the United States are higher today than they've been any time since September 11th. You know what? In that spike, how many Hamas terrorists are there? How many Hezbollah terrorists are there? And what are we going to say when they carry out an attack here like October 7th in Israel? This bill is not designed to fix the problem. This bill normalizes 5,000 people a day coming in. 5,000 people a day is over 1.8 million a year. That's called an invasion. By the way, under Joe Biden, we've had 9.6 million. So the great Republican compromise is we're for 2/3 of Joe Biden's open borders. We'll let in 6 million instead of 9 million. This makes utterly no sense. And there's a reason. Republican leadership is like Charlie Brown with Lucy and the football. And over again, they run for the football, and over again, Lucy Schumer pulls it away. And Republican leadership lands on their ass. They entered this negotiation saying, we will only do what Chuck Schumer will agree to. He doesn't want to fix this.
Also, we really shouldn't be trying to send money to Ukraine anymore. We should be trying to end that war. And quite honestly, I'm not sure we should even send money to Israel. I think they got it, right? I think the conflict that they're facing over there, with, the Palestinians, they got it, right? They don't need more money from us. We already send them money, okay? We need to stop spending all of this money. These politicians, they love, again, trying to find more ways to spend taxpayer dollars that we really don't need to do at this point, okay? We're facing a financial and economical crisis in this country, especially when it comes to the budget. But yeah, these people want to spend another $100 billion, right? And then they want to blame Trump when Trump comes out and says, I don't think we should be doing this right now. But again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. There's no need, politically speaking, for Republicans to compromise on this issue, right? They don't need to compromise because the border is so bad. It is such a crisis. And the Biden administration is taking all of the blame for it. So why do you need to compromise when the American people are on your side? The American people are saying we need the border to be secure. So why do you need to compromise to pass a bill that doesn't actually do that, right? You should be trying to get all of what you want. And if the Biden administration says no and Democrats say no, then you point fingers at them and say, look, they don't want to secure the border. They don't want to secure the border. We're not compromising on this. We don't need to. We don't have to. Okay? We're not going to accept anything less than a full and complete shutdown and securing of our border. Anything less than that is a no-go. And if Democrats don't want to do it, let them take the political hit. Biden's being blamed for it anyways. You have Texas out here trying to secure the border themselves, and the Biden administration is fighting publicly to not allow them to do it. Right? They're going to continue to take the blame, so let them continue to take the hit because this is Chess, not checkers. There's some issues, like, for example, abortion, where you say, hey, look, we might have to compromise because, you know, when it comes to a national ban and stuff like that, we ain't got the numbers for it. We don't have the support, right? It's not going to work for us. But when it comes to the border, you have all of the support. On issues where you have all of the support from the American people and it's hurting your opponent, why compromise? If Biden wants to continue to allow himself to take the blame for what's happening at the border, okay, then let him do it. And then you rally around that issue and you say, look, if you vote us in, we're actually going to secure the border. This is the legislation that we're going to pass that Democrats refuse to accept. We're going to secure the border. If you want the Secure the Border Act to pass, if you want our legislation to pass, then you need to vote for us, right? Vote him out of office and vote for Republicans across the board. That's what you do. You rally around this issue the same way Democrats are rallying around abortion, right? That's all they're talking about right now because they know for them, that's a winning issue. They'll get people out to vote, right? Republicans need to do the same thing when it comes to the border. Do the same exact thing, but go even harder. Go harder. We're not compromising at all. That's what they need to do. Again, this is politics, man. Okay? This is chess. Okay? And Republicans got to start playing chess. Why are you blaming Trump for Trump saying, look, we're in a position where we don't need to compromise? Why should we? We should get everything we want because the American people are on our side, right? So, you know, look, again, I'm glad that the deal is stalling, right? Even though it sucks what's happening to the country in regards to the invasion. But that bill is not going to stop the invasion, okay? And we don't need to do this right now if we're not going to get everything we want. It's already bad enough that we're having to do this along with sending money overseas just to get something done. So when you're compromising on the border, not actually securing it, and then you're still sending hundreds of billions of dollars overseas, what did we gain, right? What did we get out of it? We didn't get nothing, okay? You let the Democrats win, they take a W on the issue, and then they can go and campaign on, oh, well, we secured the border, right? Even though they didn't, okay? Oh, we sent all this money overseas. So, you know, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and importantly share a Black Conservative Perspective. Peace.